There are lots of people doing lots of things when it comes to climate change. That's one reason I find the metaphor of the 1 million-piece climate change jigsaw puzzle attractive. It communicates the complexity of the problem and inherently makes you ask yourself, what are the most important puzzle pieces? But while we may each believe the piece we're working on is critically important, is there a way to evaluate which pieces of the puzzle might have the most impact at any given time? I'll use a 2x2 matrix to illustrate a very short answer to this question. With two axes. Number one, is it based on doing something different? And number two, how large and how direct is its potential impact on climate change? Two very different questions, but key to evaluating pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. Now let's populate the matrix. Red reflects business as usual activities, which by definition don't move the bar for tackling climate change. Then we have new policy, climate-relevant innovation, and voluntary actions. New policy and innovation might seem like the no-brainer answer for making a difference on climate change. True enough. But if we've learned anything over the last 30 years, it's that new policy is hard, and innovation isn't enough. That's why there has been such a growth in emphasis on voluntary action by individuals, companies, cities, and others. Voluntary action is important, but not always for the reasons you might think. Most voluntary actions will not scale to the point of directly affecting climate change. But the very act of engaging in voluntary actions makes it more likely that individuals, companies, and others will support needed policies and innovation. Voluntary actions also deliver important psychic benefits. But there's a big downside, risk, when it comes to voluntary action. Let's call it moral hazard. Regardless of who we are, we want to feel better about ourselves, and so we want to believe we're doing as much as we can to tackle climate change. That can lead us to characterize activities that properly belong in the business as usual quadrant as being voluntary actions. What's the harm? But as the saying goes, there is no such thing as a free lunch. The more that business as usual programs and activities of all kinds are moved into other quadrants, the more we dilute the difference we're making on climate change. The net effect is that business as usual measures become a bigger part of what we're characterizing as our overall climate change portfolio. The 2x2 matrix I've used here is a framework for evaluating almost any piece of the climate change jigsaw puzzle. While there are many important puzzle pieces, not all puzzle pieces are created equal. If you want to make the biggest possible difference on climate change, it's in your interest to understand how your puzzle pieces perform. Otherwise, you're likely to be making much less of a climate difference than you might have hoped. Thanks.